Good evening. The time is 7:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 12th, 2024, and I'm calling the Village of Martins Additions Council meeting to order. First item on tonight's agenda is an update by Attorney Michelle Rosenfeld, who specializes in real property, land use, and zoning law. She is also the former lead attorney for Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, that's MNCPPC, and Montgomery County Planning Board. And during last month's council meeting, this council voted to retain Michelle's services as she has been working with our neighboring Chevy Chase municipalities on lobbying efforts pertaining to the AHSI. So Michelle, thank you for joining us. She's going to provide insights about the latest pertaining to attainable housing strategies in Montgomery County. We welcome your expertise in the VMA, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I appreciate being here, and I appreciate and look forward to working with you. And I have been retained by a number of municipalities to work on the Affordable Housing Strategies Initiative. And just so you know, those other municipalities currently include Chevy Chase Village and Town of Chevy Chase, Section 5 and Section 3, and the Town of Chevy Chase and the Town of Chevy Chase View. So there's a really wonderful coalition of municipalities working on this. I have been retained, and I'll talk briefly about the scope of what I've been retained to do. There's two phases at this point. Phase one is to track and monitor what's happening at the county council level, to track their staff reports, track their agendas, monitor to see if anything has been posted in terms of new legislation or new updates, new staff reports, evaluating the initiative. At such time, and in addition to track state legislation, because there are state amendments from time to time that potentially have implications for this. And then if and when legislation is introduced, or if there are initiatives that are provided, then I would at that point enter into phase two, which would be to advise the municipalities in terms of the impact of what's been proposed, advise on whether or not or what kind of lobbying we might want to consider, and most importantly, advise on what legal implications it has with respect to the respective municipal jurisdictions, if it's going to impact your jurisdictional authority and how it may or may not impact your residents. So we'll take it step by step as things come along. Right now, I'm happy to say we're in a lull. The council is on recess until mid-January. There is nothing has been introduced by way of legislation. We understand from Councilmember Friedson that at least he does not expect anything to be introduced early after, in the early time frame after the county council returns from recess. We don't know if legislation is not being drafted. We understand that it is not, but we don't know for a fact. And so right now we're kind of in a wait and see mode. And so I'll be monitoring. I will be sending weekly updates to the municipalities. Just either there's nothing new or there is something new. And if something of urgency comes up, of course, then I will update the municipalities more frequently. So don't have a whole lot more than that to report, but I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Terrific. Thank you. Yes, Arthur.
Michelle, thanks. I'm wondering whether if there's anything to be said here. There's a new chair for the county council. Does that have any impact?
Well, we're not quite sure yet.
Okay. That's what I
so
suspected.
She did. I understand. note that this initiative was out there very briefly in passing when she assumed the gavel, but did not really say more than that in her remarks. I do think that she's been supportive of this initiative, but how her role is going to impact the way this is addressed going forward, and honestly, how it's going to impact the level of communication that the municipalities receive remains to be seen. Because of course, Councilmember Friedson has been working closely, I think, with the municipalities, and we'll just have to see how that relationship develops with the new council chair.
Okay,
Anyone else? Susan, Andrew, have any questions? It's too bad, I don't think, is Jeff on the line yet? I think he's gonna be a little late this evening. So if our treasurer, Jeff Blander, had questions for you, he's been really following this issue, and you've probably heard from him before. Michael, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Or-
any questions for
Waiting.
Or
residents?
Ron? Yeah, I mean, yeah, next, I thought I'd just punted to Ron and then residents, Ron.
No, no questions.
Okay, great. Michelle, would you be open to any resident questions from the?
Of course.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, anyone in the room? No? Okay, let's see if we have any takers at home. Oh, okay. Marty, Michelle, this is a resident, Marty Langland.
Hello.
Marty is
Marty, you're muted.
she on off mute?
There you go. I was just saying, we're really glad to see you on behalf of residents, and thank you to the council for hiring you, because my question is really simple. Are there points at which you can alert the residents as to what we can do? And a lot of us did send comments in when they had that comment period. Is that sort of part of your remit, is to give us a heads up when there's something where residents should weigh in on? Can we do that?
I certainly will be working with the governmental representatives, the municipal representatives, and I certainly do see part of my role as advising them as to if and when to help mobilize the residents, because clearly, you know, this affects not just the municipal jurisdictional issues, but you know, residents as well in your day-to-day life. And so I expect that in coordinating with your representatives, they will then determine how and when to pull that trigger. One thing I try to caution is to not exhaust yourselves before the right time. So right now, I wouldn't expect people to be doing much until we wait and see exactly what is proposed. And at that point, I suspect you will be mobilized, both of your own efforts as well as with the support of your council representatives.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
We'll see. Anybody else? Any other residents have questions for Michelle? Don't see any at this time. Well, Michelle, I'm sure we'll be seeing and speaking with you more. So
Sure.
and I'll let you go and enjoy your evening. Thank you very much
Thank
again
you.
for your
Thank you.
your services.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. Okay. And so, all right, we're gonna move to the next item, which is the weather report. But before we kick it to Keith, and he provides his forecast, he should also be recognized as the birthday boy in the room. And you are, may I say your age? 83? 83 years young.
Oh,
okay?
a young guy.
And is your actual birthday December?
Today.
Even more.
Today. Oh, this is his actual
There it is.
birthday.
Right.
All right, well, unofficially, I think the council should recognize December 12th as VMA Keith Allen Day. I have no power to say that really, but I'm just gonna recognize it.
Definitely humbled and honored.
Well, for those of you at home, we have a cake here for Keith, and Keith, we thank you for all that you do as an incredible volunteer.
It's on the cake, they have happy birthday to the mayor.
It's gonna go all over Andrew's computer.
Okay.
And so thank you, Keith, and happy birthday. So
Thank you.
are you ready for your weather
Yes.
report? Okay,
I can do it right from here.
okay.
Sure.
great.
Okay, it's the real, focus on the weather. And with Christmas and New Year's coming up, whenever I get everybody's attention on that, but it's actually for this Sunday for our Night of Lights
Yes.
celebration event. And right now, it looks like the rain may hold off until later in the evening.
Okay.
So let's just go with that right now. But you know what? Even if it does rain, it wouldn't be heavy. And that's not gonna dampen our spirits.
Good.
So we're going through with this and, regardless, and it's gonna be a wonderful event, I promise you that. I might not be able to absolutely promise that we won't get a little bit of rain, but I promise you it's gonna be a worthwhile and very happy event for everybody.
It won't
Thank
dampen
you.
the lights. That's right.
And that's it.
All right, well,
Okay.
thank
So
you,
I'll-
Keith.
I'll be back with the update for the committee for our engagement committee and the La Firme event, because I got that all settled.
Great, we
Good.
have some updates. Okay, well, thank you, Keith. We'll hear from Keith later. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Okay, well, next up, resident comments. Another different resident comments. Anyone, residents have any comments? Let's see.
QB, which is probably Larry Wasson.
Okay, yeah, I think that's Larry, quarterback Larry Wasson.
Well, actually, it's sort of a question as well to Keith. I mean, what are you gonna do, Keith, if it's raining cats and dogs? Now, you might wonder why I'm asking that. So at this very moment,
I'll be handing out umbrellas to everybody.
so at this very moment, I may have to get up and leave because there is a automobile mechanic just outside the rear of my house, dismantling my engine to remove my neighbor's cat. He's trapped in there.
Oh,
Wow.
It's a
The mix-
segue.
yeah.
That was a
So-
long way to get to that.
wow.
So I may actually have to leave at some time or other.
Oh, my God.
I have this
How long will
silly
the cat
desire
been
that
in
my
there?
car will work afterwards, so I want to check that.
Or we don't know if the cat will work afterward either.
Exactly,
Oh, no.
Keith is wondering how long the cat has been in there.
since 2 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
And in that time, you'll all be happy to know, I've talked the cat into running for council next year.
I second the amendment.
Wow.
Second that.
How did you, Larry, how did you know the cat was in there?
The neighbor, standing outside yelling and screaming, was the catalyst, the catalyst that got me to go out.
No
And
pun
Stevie.
intended.
Catastrophic.
Oh, wow.
I
Well,
mean,
I'm
we
glad
should
that
just-
cat has been
Thank you,
found. I
thank
saw
you.
the cat was missing on some local
Wow.
social media, yeah.
I'm gonna call you to do a follow-up on that, Larry.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's hard to follow. I don't know.
I suggested catnip, but nobody would go get it. So what the heck?
Any other questions?
Yeah. Any other hands raised? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, well, then we can move on to approving last month's meeting, November 21st. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes? I think somebody caught an
Yeah,
editor's eye
Just
here.
found one.
Yeah,
Okay, understood.
under
A typo?
7:30 PM, it should be
Okay.
Eva Webb reviewed rather than relived the audit report. Although
She
reliving
may have
the
done
audit
that
report,
too.
It would be quite dramatic, really.
I think maybe delivered the audit.
Oh, delivered.
Delivered.
Oh, delivered.
All right,
Okay.
that's fine. Oh, okay, got it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
better than reliving it.
New ones, and it was a good report, so. All right, okay, any other catches or edits, anything? Okay, well, is there a motion to pass last month's?
I will
meeting?
move to accept the minutes.
All right, excellent. Is there a second?
Very controversial. All in favor, say.
All in favor, say aye. Okay, aye, all right.
Controversial vote of the night.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
All right. Okay, well, so next we have committee reports. I was gonna start with stormwater, but you said Mark's gonna be a little later.
Yeah.
Okay, so then next, I just wanna pick randomly. Well, Keith, you're here.
Yeah.
Why don't you go next and then,
Be
and then
very
Lori.
quick, because I'm gonna let Susan take over.
Okay.
And, talk about what we're gonna do on, Sunday evening. I've got the firm, the entire restaurant booked for Sunday, the 2nd of March, from 1 to 4. And we're gonna have it set up there, you know, so for the kids, that was part of the idea, to keep them amused while the adults imbibed and whatever. And were enjoying themselves downstairs. So, but it's gonna be really nice. It's gonna be bigger and better than ever. And they're willing to put anything else on the menu that we might ask them to. So we gotta be really excited about that. That's gonna be a big draw.
And will that be the whole facility? Do we have the whole facility?
The
Okay,
whole facility.
great.
All you can eat soufflés?
Yep, yep.
Probably not. Great,
They'll do whatever you want. They told me that. We got carte blanche over there, Andrew.
wow.
Anything
What's the
for
budget
price.
on this one?
Whatever.
It's like-
They'll make whatever you pay for.
Yeah.
We added a little more cushioning, but I don't know that much.
That's really cushioning.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Keith. Thanks for that update.
Susan,
And Susan,
please.
I can build on that. So I
excellent.
wasn't gonna start with that, but I will build on that. So one of the things we talked about was whether, we talked about the 40th anniversary event
Mhm.
and whether we should add that to the La Ferme event or have it as a separate event.
Mhm.
And I think we all felt and recommended that it be a combined event, which is why we proposed having the upstairs.
Mhm.
Because I think the thinking was we wanted to, you know, maybe work with the Historical Society
Mhm.
and showcase Martin's Edition, maybe profile some people.
Mhm.
Someone mentioned there was a film at some point at the 30th anniversary.
Right.
So to take advantage of that, maybe have some speakers and have the upstairs where maybe it's a little quieter to be able to host that. So that was the thinking on that.
Mhm.
The other things we talked about in our last meeting was all the logistics for the Night of Lights. Thank you for approving it. We've been very busy. Michael's helped us order supplies. Katie, Barbara, Yasmina and I bagged last Friday,
Yes.
handed them out to the street captains who have in turn handed them out. We have volunteers to host, I think it's 8, but I can't remember.
That's right.
8
Yeah.
tables throughout the village where Michael and Yasmina are gonna deliver cookies and cocoa and cider on Sunday. We moved the event a little earlier to accommodate younger children, so it's gonna be 6:30 to 8, and we
Great.
shortened it because we were worried about standing out there in the cold. But I'm hoping it goes really well. I think we're pretty well
Be great.
organized and
Yeah.
it should be a nice new event.
It's gonna go very well.
And then the last thing we did was, I think we mentioned that we're interested in having some new events targeted at adults that are maybe smaller and for getting to know each other. We've generated a list, we're pricing them out, and then we're gonna shortlist them and bring them to you for a discussion of how would this work. So I can't remember when our next meeting and whether it's before your next meeting. It probably is. So hopefully we can get.
Yeah,
them
I
on the
think we
agenda
said
for
that it's the
next meeting.
second week of January, Wednesday, whatever.
And I
that
think ours
is.
is the
Yeah.
second week of January too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it might be
I think
February.
your meeting is the 15th and the next council meeting is January 16th.
Okay, so then,
So maybe.
yeah, that'd be fine, yeah.
That early?
16th.
Oh, the 16th, I'm sorry.
I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
No, you did great. What I'd like to say though, is that all of the ideas, everything that put together here has been the ladies, not me. And I'm just gonna do whatever they ask me to do.
Mhm.
I did my street and I'll help Michael or whoever on Sunday, but this is all their ideas.
This was Yasmina's idea from last year that
Right.
we're finally able to make
Excellent.
happen, which I'm really happy about.
Can I ask a question on behalf of the Anti-Semitism and Awareness Task Force? In the holiday spirit, they had a question about snacks at these stations, these individual stations. And they would be, if there were snacks, they were wondering if they could provide these little chocolate coins, the Gelt coins, just as, especially for the kids, if kids are gonna be out there just as a little treat, a non-denominational fashion.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to make that request, if that's something everyone's comfortable with. They thought that would be a real nice addition to those tables.
I think that the only thing I would say is we really worked hard I'm Jewish,
Mhm.
there's Christian people,
Yeah.
there's Muslim, to make it completely non-denominational.
Yeah.
So as long as the coins don't have.
Okay, let's see.
Hanukkah on them.
Yeah, okay.
If they say Trader
Let's see-
Joe's.
Let's see what we can find on Amazon.
Or you could, they have them at Rodman's, but I didn't look at what they look
Yeah,
like.
no, I'm sure there's.
I think the Trader
And then
Joe's
the
just
only other
say,
question is, 'cause this is a heavy lift logistically, these guys are gonna try and deliver the cocoa and everything from 6 to 6:30 at these tables.
Mm.
Would someone from there be dropping them at the tables, or?
Yeah,
you
no,
wanna
this would
drop
not
them to
be-
Michael?
No, we would not burden anyone who's already working on logistics. This would be, we would take care of.
Just an offering at an individual table if they want.
Yeah, so we'll,
Oh, no, it could just be put on the table.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm happy to.
Well,
And
I'll report that out. in
And
case-
we've asked people to, some of us are asking our neighbors if they want to contribute their own cookies and things. To the tables.
Mhm. We're talking about the Night of Lights, yes. Yeah. Here's the star of it.
Yasmina might want to add something here.
Add to what?
I'm just catching up.
No.
Please feel
So the
free
last
to-
question was the anti-Semitism committee wants to know if they could drop chocolate coins at all the tables. And my response was, people are contributing things as long as it has nothing that says Happy Hanukkah or anything
Yeah,
denomination. That's my,
just little
because we
chocolate
worked really
treats.
hard to keep it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they want to do it at the table they're hosting, that would be very appropriate. We want to just be careful about giving the perception that that the whole event has a religious
Connotation.
connotation,
Yeah.
has been organized for religious reasons. We've had some questions already about whether there were any religious origins to this event, and it's not at all the intention. The intention of the event is for it to be something that everyone can celebrate, where everyone can find themselves and celebrate their traditions. So we don't want one particular aspect of the celebration to dominate any others. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay,
Members of the committee were too.
Whatever you girls say, because before you came in here, I told everybody that all the accolades, all the kudos go to you guys, to the ladies. Because I didn't do anything. So you've got all the ideas and you're wonderful.
We don't have
So
all the
it's
ideas,
whatever-
the ideas coming from the
There
whole
are-
committee.
Yeah,
but this
and
one-
also from the street captains,
Yeah.
we've had lots of great feedback.
seal
We'll
of.
do it the way you want it.
As a resident, do you have any thoughts?
You look up.
No. I just-
Wait, you don't want to take resident
Oh,
questions
oh.
at this
No, this
at this
is-
moment. We're
so
trying to
this-
get the move their
So
meeting.
this question is a hard one, though, because
Yeah.
those chocolate coins are.
Yeah, I'm-
associated
I'm-
with Hanukkah.
I'm finding chocolate coin, we're probably just not gonna do it, but I'm finding gold chocolate coins with the seal of the United States on them, things like that, so,
Okay.
that could be.
Next year we'll have VMA coins.
Yeah.
That's a
We do have
good
a
idea.
budget, don't we?
That's a good idea. Mhm.
Okay, message received, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Do you need anything else from us, for this inaugural event?
I mean, I want to take this moment to,
Mhm.
well, first of all, to thank everyone involved in helping. It was a huge volunteer effort, lots of people involved in the committee and also on the streets with the street captains and the volunteers for hosting, and people who have been organizing even beyond that on their streets to help. And Michael for making this event possible in organizing all the goodies we needed, and
Thank
our
you.
council member representatives, most importantly, on our committee who were here rolling up their sleeves and who have helped us with all the
Taking
different
bags
aspects of
around.
organizing this. So
Yeah,
thank you.
taking back.
That's- We have quite an assembly line. though. Knock it out.
Sorry, I missed that.
All right.
Would've been fun.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be a wonderful event, and I think it couldn't come at a better time, and I appreciate all your work and your work, Michael, and if you need help with hot chocolate stations, I'm gonna block off my Sunday to help you too, so.
And I will say one last thing is that I think you received, or somebody received a comment that it was nice we were doing something on a street where people, not everybody's mobile.
Mhm.
They can just walk out and see something, and
Nice,
it's much
yeah,
more accessible. So
that's
it's
very
nice to have a
inclusive,
mix of-
yeah.
Mhm.
Good to know. That's great. Thank you. Well, all right, I'll move on to the next. So we've heard from CEC. How about, well, did we hear from anti-Semitism, or is there someone on here from anti-Semitism? No?
Yeah, no, I
That
don't,
was
I
your
don't
only
see
thing?
anyone, in terms of, an update, we had a meeting a couple of nights ago, or was it last night? I think it was last night.
That must have been quite a meeting.
Yeah, there've been a lot of committee and task force meetings this week. And it's just that doing some more research and reviewing options for events, or for an event, but also for the possibility of helping flag existing events for residents, that provide, an educational and awareness component to them. So that's what's happening right there. And then the chocolate coin question was discussed and
Yes.
has been answered, I think, mostly here during this meeting. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'm sorry, Lori, ethics.
Great, yeah.
Yes.
Our primary focus this year continues to be working on SOPs and updating and expanding our SOPs. We feel pretty strongly that we want to have guidelines in place for future people who may want to serve on the ethics committee. And so we've been working on that. We're also working on updating our training, and we've come up with some new scenarios. Since community engagement was the first committee to jump on the January training, we're working on a new community engagement scenario to discuss. And we just think it's important to keep the training as fresh as we can. And one of the scenarios has been based on something that happened recently in the village. So it's a real life. And then the other one was based on something that one of the residents thought we needed a scenario on. So that'll be interesting. We're also talking with Michael about putting together a little mini training so that at the beginning of the year, along with the onboarding training, ethics will take apart. Michael specifically asked for a scenario. So we'll have to come up with something very general for that. But we're planning to do a mini training. We're going to work with him on time allotments and so forth. And the most exciting thing about our meeting, and luckily ethics meetings are generally not very exciting, but this was good excitement.
Oh, come on now.
We broke new
It's
ground.
true.
We used AI to record
Oh,
our
yes,
meeting
yes.
minutes.
Mhm.
I think it's the first time in the village.
You're so
And
innovative.
yeah, it was amazing. Michael was kind enough to stay on for the whole meeting.
Yeah.
And maybe 5 minutes after the meeting ended, he sent me an AI summary from which I spent maybe 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes, just putting on who attended. There was one mistake on a date. But other than that, good to go. Sent it to my co-ethics committee members, and I'm still waiting to hear back from one of them who was doing some traveling this week. But it really saved a lot of time, and it would be something that I highly recommend other committees considering. And it's great too, because it's maybe even more detail. Ethics has been known, since we don't record our meetings, to provide a good level of details in the meetings, but it was much better than I expected. Michael, when I brought it up to him, I guess was it last week? He said, "Do you have 5 minutes? Let's do a little run through practice
You
session."
were the test committee,
We
yeah.
did a little test. And then it was much more detailed with our committee. It had next steps, things that we had planned for the future,
Yeah.
a summary. They were really good. You'll see them. We'll be posting them within the next week or so.
Oh,
But
that's terrific.
big time saver. So
And
exciting.
was it very user friendly? Like, how did the process, like, how did it work?
It's
How did
very
you-
easy.
Yeah.
It's not as clear because I was completely remote. It's not as clear how well it would work when multiple people are in the same room, like
Right.
right now. But for online purposes, it worked really well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for online,
Uh-huh.
the only thing was, okay, so it had everything that everyone said with their name next to it. Alex goes by Alex, but online he had Alexander.
So
I
it
just
fits
went,
in.
I just went
Right.
through and got rid of the
Yeah.
Ander,
Uh-huh.
so it would be Alex. But other than that, everything that everyone said was attributed to them. It made one strange mistake on the dates. We had decided on the 21st and the 22nd as potential dates for the training.
Mhm.
Community engagement people take note of that.
Mhm.
And it for some reason said the 20th and the 21st. And that was really the only error that I could find.
Mhm.
So it was great. So.
Oh,
something to consider.
futuristic here. That's great.
The ethics committee, really innovative.
Yeah. Well, yeah, were you gonna add more to that on in your village, your?
Yeah, I
management
have a
report later?
report coming
Okay.
up on that
Okay.
and yeah, I'll talk about that.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you for trying it out, and it looked like a great summary to me, and,
Yeah, really efficient, I think.
it's, I know minutes are always,
Laborious.
yeah, and they're,
Having done them.
yeah, they are,
Can
and,
attest.
and, I think that something, could we consider extending that to other committees? Are we thinking, that would be helpful to other committees? Because I know that that's one of the, points when people are at their committee meetings and they say, who wants to do the minutes? And don't all get up at once. I mean, so I think it would really help with our process, and, but that's interesting that there was one little type, maybe it keeps us on our toes to let us
Well, you have to edit
interact.
it.
Disclaimer that,
Yeah.
please review for
Right,
any
saw the disclaimer.
inaccuracies.
Mm-hmm.
The computers aren't better than me yet.
Yeah, there you go. Mike.
Just wait. That's what I was told in 1965.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks again for trying it out. That's great. Yeah. Okay, well, is Mark Schaefer joined yet?
He is not.
If not, then, Marty, thanks for waiting. I put you as the last committee because I thought we were just gonna go into the next agenda items, but if you're ready and have any other comments, we can just talk to you, and then I guess we'll just circle back when Mark joins. Marty, is that okay? Are you ready to?
That's fine, Katie, and happy to accommodate whatever schedule works.
Great.
And we have our full committee here tonight, I believe. Elizabeth and Nomi and Larry, and they are a great team, I have to say. And the first item that we have is our request for the council to approve the election schedule, which I know you have in the packet. And as I understand it, that's a simple administrative vote that we could do tonight. So let's do that first, and then we'll come to the actual election regs discussion. Would that work, Katie?
Sure. Well, since, well, your liaison, Arthur.
I was
did you
just
have
gonna say,
something to
we're
add?
just introducing that tonight.
Yeah.
So it's gonna just.
The
introduction.
schedule, we can just pass as an up-down vote.
Yeah.
I
Right,
did just
so,
do
that.
since he's not on here yet, sure, Marty, so, yeah, we're just gonna jump to the next agenda, and then we'll go back and
Yeah.
make an asterisk to the committee reports. So yeah, so the election committee, provided, their proposed schedule, for this election year season. They did it as early as October. Thank you. You did that a while ago, I know. So has all the council had a chance to review it? It's in your packet.
Here it is.
Are there
Page
any?
24. of the
Page
packet.
It's also
24.
page 7.
And 7,
Oh,
okay.
Also, 7, okay.
I put it in the beginning, just
Okay.
because I knew that was the house.
And do y'all have any questions, or, looks pretty, straightforward to me. So, I mean, if there are no further questions, I think we can go ahead and just give the okay to this schedule.
Do we have to make a motion and introduce it, or just say, yo, looks good?
You
Ron?
can just approve it by motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
move to introduce and approve the schedule for the fiscal year 2025 election.
I'd like to second. All in favor? All
Right.
right, good. All right,
Good.
so that's approved. Well, moving on. All right. All right, so, next up is a discussion and introduction of FY 25 election plan. And, so Arthur has been, serving as the committee, liaison, and I attended their last meeting as well. And they're introducing the election plan tonight. So, at that meeting, the committee approved some tweaks from the plan from last year, and they also asked if the council has any questions, comments, concerns to communicate them by December 20th. I know this is the busiest time of the year for many, We even bumped up tonight's meeting by a week to allow for a full 30 days between now, the introduction of the plan, and next month's council meeting. So we could allow for some proper review and adoption of the plan. So, however, I did say at the committee meeting that I would encourage my council colleagues to review this latest plan and submit your comments or questions, to the committee. You can do it individually, we can do it jointly, whatever, we decide. But if by then, or at least by their next committee meeting, which is, I think, Monday, January 6th,
That sounds right.
right? Okay. Are there any questions or comments by the council on the introductory plan?
I mean, I think the discussion is after it's introduced today, the discussion is at the final vote is at the next council meeting, right?
Correct.
So,
May as well. Hunt.
yeah, so I think, my understanding was we would vote to introduce the plan. Done, and then we and residents can review, and we'll get comments, and then at the next council meeting, we can have a more deep, more in-depth conversation about it if we have any issues with it. Is that how we proceed?
Yes.
Correct. And just to add on to that, the printed version in front of you is not quite the best version. I would use the online version. The online version has red lined what has changed. So as you're reviewing over the next month, I would use that version. I printed in black and white, I think, so, or at least some of the copies.
This one has red.
Oh, okay, I didn't. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Just my own copies in black and white.
Oh,
Saving red ink over here.
yeah,
So,
this has red.
okay. So yeah, you're correct, though. We just introduced tonight, and it's not until the January 16th meeting that we can go line by line and decide how to vote on each of those.
Right.
In the holiday spirit.
Yes,
Right.
that's
Amen.
fine. Yes, but yes,
Amen.
and Arthur knows this. The committee did ask, though, if you do have feedback, they are open to it earlier than them too. So
Right.
just
Gotcha.
letting that out there. So does someone want to make a motion to
Yeah.
basically introduce?
Yeah,
tonight's-
I will move to introduce the plan, the
Election regulations.
election regulation, FY 22-25 VMA Election Committee, recommended regulations. I moved to introduce all that.
I'll
I'll
second.
say, he wants to
Oh,
second.
Desperately.
really racing tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just give Susan a
Aye.
All in
second.
favor?
Hi, I'm all in favor. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, all right, so we will review the plan, everybody, yeah, get ready for that, okay, so,
Katie,
next-
could I add one word?
yes,
Um,
Marty, go ahead.
What the committee prepared our election committee report to accompany the recommended regs. And we also sent the council a short email today, which kind of talked about the difference between staff support versus election management roles. And we hope that was helpful. Did everybody get the report plus the little email today?
Received.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
We did.
Okay. And if you have questions or comments at any time, we'd be more than happy to answer any questions or respond. And again, I want to thank the committee for a really thorough job. As you can see in our report, we went through every section of the regs. We even went back to make sure we had some continuity with 22 and 23, because we are, as a community, very much involved in stabilizing the process, making it not tense anymore. It should be friendly and easy. Our elections are voter friendly, and our discussions of election rules should also be friendly. And I'm looking forward to it this year. We have a great team, and thank you for the council support for this project, because the council did a lot last year to help move us forward in terms of stabilizing and streamlining the regs to make sure they're good, because who knows who's going to be using them 5 years from now. So the better we can do in terms of clarity and simplicity, the better off we are. And again, questions are welcome anytime. Just email us. And a big thank you to everybody on the committee, as well as the council. Nomi?
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
I would like to have a say, please. Not sure I can join you in January. I urge the committee, which will not change next year, I know it's the same in January, to reconsider the optional version of the forum, because it's self-serving for the council to have an optional forum when some of them may be incumbents in the election. So if it's convenient for the forum, for the council not to have a forum then the people who are running, who are not incumbents, will be, will not benefit as much as incumbents will. So it's a conflict of interest to have the council vote to have the form as an optional version, because it'll always favor the incumbents who are part of the council.
Thank you, Nomi. Any other residents want to, or committee members want to say anything? Okay. Anyone have a hand up?
Elizabeth? I think Elizabeth had her hand up.
Okay.
Oh. Hi, Elizabeth, you're on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're on.
Unmute yourself.
Got it.
There you
Okay,
go.
sorry. I would like to make a comment on another section, which is section 1, right at the top, which is the purpose. The proposed purpose, which actually parts of it have been in previous election regulations, at least in 2022 and 23. And I understand that the council also, it was in the in a previous version approved by the council. But this year in the revision that the council made in January, the statement was deleted. And I mean, there is a purpose statement, but it's very it's very short, and it is very let's say it lacks character. So what I would like to suggest to you is that the proposed purpose statement that you'll find in red there in section 1 is really a 3-in-1 statement. It combines a purpose, it combines aspects of an operating principle, and it includes guardrails. In particular, the purpose statement reminds us, 1, what we are charged to do, that is to ensure that elections actually take place. 2, it tells us how we will work, that is in a fair, unbiased, and independent manner. And 3, it tells us who we serve, that is to ensure that all qualified voters of VMA are able to freely exercise their right to vote. So that is a phrase that we unanimously believe says a very important, it provides a very important statement that directs this committee that's actually charged by the charter to fulfill this important phase of the community's business and elect new leaders, which is a very weighty responsibility and a very serious responsibility, considering the amount of budget that's controlled by the council at their disposal. And we feel that it's important to, as a reminder for all of us about what we're about in a much more explicit way. And it also happens to be a statement that is echoed in other jurisdictions such as Montgomery County and other jurisdictional election committees. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to say. When you read it, please keep in mind those 3 things that it does, the additional value that it provides the committee, and as a reminder to you, council, and also to those who are volunteering on the election committee.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Larry, did you want to add anything?
Well, I'm a little confused. So, I still haven't gotten over the cat, so pardon me.
I don't blame you. No
The
worries.
cat's released from your car? Is the cat still
Yeah,
there?
the cat is free and the car is
Yay.
Oh,
still
well, there
fine,
you
so
go.
I'm
Good.
stunned.
Oh, that's a relief.
You
Well,
know,
our written report is just only 3.5 pages, but it does have a lot of good information in it. And again, if there's any questions about any sections of it,
Right.
the council is warmly invited to get in touch with us anytime.
so I have a question though here, Marty. So
Go right ahead.
I thought this was a little different than what we were going to do. Are we presenting a report tonight?
No, no, we're highlighting a
not.
couple of items for the
Okay, all right,
council.
hold on. Then, number two, if we have these issues, which I assume is the red ink in what I'm looking at.
Those were the
are they
changes
gonna
in our
be
markup.
discussed? Pardon me?
Yeah, we marked the revisions that the committee approved. Those are the red changes in the markup. That's right.
Okay, are they going to be discussed tonight or are they going to be discussed at the next council meeting?
No, that was,
Next council
yeah,
meeting.
because we're just introducing the plan tonight.
Introduced
It's going to introduce the plan. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Out there, it's introduced, we're all gonna review it and then come together and talk about it.
Are you-
In
So,
January.
Amen.
yes.
Amen, Katie.
So Katie, I read some bio on you and I see that you were formerly were a news, were a bit of a reporter and stuff. So do you do any singing? Are you going to do Come Together right now or no chance?
Oh, yeah, that's one of my hits, one on my playlist, but yeah, I'll spare you all.
Okay.
Another time, another time.
So then, is there anything else that we need to do then as a committee tonight?
I don't
No.
think so. I'd highlight the fact that there's been a continuing concern about the difference between the management functions in the election and the staff role of support and the need for clarity there. And that's certainly been raised by a number of residents, not just by election officials. And it is a pretty core issue. It keeps coming back, so we really ought to just resolve it. And that was one reason we sent you the additional short email today, just giving examples of, where the borderline is. And historically, it's been a very clear line that really was important, and is, it continues to be important to residents. We keep hearing about it. And again, we want to make sure the staff does not in any way get tangled up in an election, rumors or allegations. We really want to, one of the reasons you have a separation of functions there is to protect the staff's reputation. Because any allegation that the staff was in any way doing anything
Marty,
improper
who's
with the
making an
election-
allegation? Is that you?
nobody's made an allegation, thank goodness.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
trying to prevent that by having a clean line there. There have been in the past problems with staff being tarnished by false allegations, and I found that very disturbing. And one of the reasons that you have this election structure
She made the false allegation.
is, in fact, to protect
Yeah.
the staff, to
I mean-
insulate the staff from that
Right.
risk.
Right.
So anyway, it's a
And-
continuing issue, and I
Let's
thank
move
the
on.
council for
Yeah,
looking
no,
at
I
it
know,
carefully again
yeah,
this
no,
year.
I know there's been some history there and, but yeah, we're gonna move on and, no allegations on my.
None whatsoever, just
Fine
the
job.
opposite.
Michael
We
is
think the staff's terrific,
stellar guy.
and we want to make sure that they don't
Excellent
get
job.
damaged
But
in
yeah,
any way.
so yeah, this is the process and, there will be back and forth, but, respect is a two-way street. So we're going to do our best to be thoughtful to the committee and the committee will listen to the council. So on this process. So
I can
I
give
think
the
we should
treasurer's
move-
report if,
yes, let's
Yes.
move
Yes,
forward
please.
and then do the manager's report. Okay.
Thank you. Signing off.
Is Jeff, did we hear yet?
Before we go on here, I wanted to ask if Nick is on there with us tonight.
I do see a Nick on
Is
here.
Nick
Yes.
there?
Nick
is on, yes.
Nick is on, yes.
Saint,
Nick Mitchell.
that's Saint Nick. I want to give him a shout out and welcome him.
Oh, hey. Hey, Mitch.
Just a quick update on the treasurer's
Yes,
report, if we can move there.
Yeah.
Jeff wasn't able to make it tonight, but we have been going back and forth and a conversation came up last month about the ARPA funds. That's the American Rescue Plan Act,
Mhm.
ARPA funds. We came into this fiscal year in July 1 with just over $500,000 remaining in ARPA funds. And as of today, we've spent about 300,000. So we still have about 200,000 left. I've created a list of current contracts that are way more than that. So we're way over obligated and we will spend that money. We're spending it at about $50,000, $60,000 a month on that right now. So we're going to burn through that this fiscal year, no problem. So everyone can relax on that point.
That's a huge
and
relief.
The accountant has done a review of that and is tracking it as it goes out. And I've shared all that with the treasurer, Jeff Blander, as well. So everyone's on the same page.
Good.
Okay, so that's,
Managers.
that's it, okay. Well, so we don't see, so yeah, that you've covered Jeff's report and your own, thank you.
Have you done your?
Not that one.
No, he
Oh,
hasn't
that's
done
yours,
that.
so you're
Just do the
filling it,
treasurer's
okay,
report.
now we're getting, yeah, I was gonna say that was way too short.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the things you've been working on, because they're excellent.
Okay, it's yeah, never that short for me. I just have a couple things though today, and one added thing that's not in the written report, and that is that the holiday fund is currently active. Thank you so much to everyone that's donated. That's the like warmest part of my day when people are coming in, giving checks. We have a lockbox here and people can just come in and drop it off or slip it under the door if we're not here. So thank you for everybody. That's open through next Friday, which is the 20th, a week from tomorrow.
Could I ask that maybe for future years, we do something like a QR code? Because a lot of folks, I don't have checks anymore. I don't do checks.
I
do
know.
everything electronically and cash is not
I have looked into
welcome
this.
here, I don't think.
I
right?
looked into an electronic payment option, you know, through Zelle or something like that. For municipalities, that's very, very difficult.
Okay.
For businesses and nonprofits, you can set something up like that. But you have to get a credit card reader essentially, and that's going to charge fees on.
What
it.
about
It's very,
cash?
very complicated.
Is cash accepted?
We could accept cash, but then I would be accepting the risk of holding people's cash.
Yeah.
Last year we raised $10,000 through this campaign,
Right.
so I don't really want that much cash
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
office, but.
Well, it wouldn't be.
Is another option to get in the individual's information? I mean, this is kind of personal, but like, probably can't do that.
transfer.
Like, folks have Venmo accounts or Zelle accounts for these individuals that we're trying to support. I'm just trying to figure out, maybe I need to give someone cash to write an additional, money.
Yeah, that would
add-
work,
add to it.
actually, if you
Okay.
don't need
Yeah.
the deduction.
We can do a buddy system.
Fun.
You can do a buddy
A
system.
buddy
Have
system.
someone write you a check.
Who wants to be my buddy?
Well, for a fee.
For a fee.
Susan.
Always available for a fee. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's the holiday fund. Thank you to everyone that's donating. And then one correction on the leaf vacuuming under maintenance. We're expecting rain next week, especially on Monday and Tuesday. So what we're gonna do is just pick up the piles next week, and we'll communicate this in the wrap up this week, tomorrow. We're gonna collect all the piles that are around the village next week on Wednesdays and Thursday. And then we're gonna do a final cleaning at the end of the year when all the leaves are off the trees. There's still plenty of leaves on the trees. As someone that bikes up Rock Creek every single day, I can tell you there's plenty of leaves left in the trees. So we're gonna do a final cleaning starting on January 6th. So that's that. And then a reminder to the council that I'm on vacation the first week of January. Actually, I don't get back until the 10th. So good luck without me.
Who approved that?
Katie. And then
Take your surfboard.
regarding the AI minutes idea, that had come up at our last council meeting, I think. Jeff brought that up, and I was really happy that the ethics committee also brought it up, and we were able to experiment with that a little bit. We also have Georgetown graduate students in a public management class studying our public meetings. They're probably going to be listening to this recording, and they're issuing their final report, I think this week or next week, regarding best practices for running public meetings. There's a lot of issues with running public meetings, not just here, but all over the country. They get very tense. There's risks. We're running 2 meetings at a time. I'm running an online meeting and I'm running an in-person meeting. The door is ajar right now. The fan is blowing over my head and people can probably hear that online. There's a lot of things going on. So I'm really excited for this report. And one of the things they're going to talk about is the minutes. Best practice now is to move to action minutes where you're only recording votes and nothing else. So even the minutes tonight were much more slimmed down, and that's the direction I want to move. I'm hoping the council will support that, maybe with a AI summary as a separate document
Right.
or as with the recording is always there for us as
Right.
well. So
I know.
That was always my intention.
Right, and Maryland Municipal League, it always says that minutes are usually way over reported. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
so if we could do that, and that would save me a ton of time in writing the minutes or editing the AI transcript as well.
Yeah.
So, okay, Great, glad I
Survey.
have support on that.
Great.
Okay, and then just quick updates on the projects that are going on right now. Brookville sidewalk, we've had some progress. We have met with, I think, probably the 4 most difficult properties along that strip where there's, issues or fences or embankments, those types of things. And we've had ongoing conversations. I've had the engineer on site this week, and we also held a public meeting that is recorded where we walked through the entire plan. The engineer has all of those comments and updates, and we're resolving one of those issues at a time. So we're going through the entire street and solving problems. As you all know, this is a very, very complicated project on a state highway that is, well, hundreds of years old. So that's ongoing, and we can have follow-up conversations offline about those specific issues that we're dealing with. But we're moving forward, and we believe we can get the permits from the State Highway Administration by March, and we believe we could be ready to go with a contractor over the summer months. We're probably talking about 2 months of straight construction, which means 2 months from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. of Brookville Road being 1 lane. So this is a huge project, which is going to have a huge contract. So get ready, it's coming. I promise. The resident directory is completed. I have sent the final document over to our editor and printer. Those are coming soon. We had a contractor, Julian Lampier, work 37 hours, almost a full week of work on reviewing that list. We also had our assistant village manager, Aaron. I want to thank both of them immensely. And we had over 160 residents fill out a form updating their contact information. So that was very helpful as well. There's still going to be mistakes. I promise you there's going to be mistakes, and people move out and move in every day. So we've done everything we can to be as good as we can. And like I said, that's a living document. So I'm updating it constantly, which means we can go back to reprint whenever. We feel like there's enough changes to make that worthy. I also changed the year because you're probably not going to get in your mailbox until January. So I just changed the year on the top of it. So it says 2025. So don't be surprised. The annual survey, we had a record number of respondents to the annual survey this year, 207. That was conducted by the University of Maryland's Governmental Services and Research Center. They weren't able to attend tonight's meeting to present the analysis of that or the results of that, but they will be able to come virtually to the January 16th meeting.
Will we get the full survey results?
We will get
spreadsheet
the
or
raw
something?
data with people's contact information removed or
Okay.
any identifying information removed. And we will also get a supplemental analysis from them as well. So
Okay,
they'll
but we will
they'll run
get
some
a-
controls.
The data in a spreadsheet or,
Absolutely. Yes.
okay,
Yes,
good.
it's coming. The newsletter, we have been trying to move the newsletter out of our email distribution tool to a professional design. We have a professional design now, or a draft design in Adobe InDesign. So now it's up to me to learn Adobe InDesign. So I actually have identified a class, and you don't know this yet, but I'm going to pay for it out of my professional development budget line to take that class over the holidays.
Okay.
So enjoy your holidays. I'm going to be taking an online class on an Adobe
Are you surfing?
while I'm surfing in Mexico. Yes. And then last but not least, the website. I have been complaining about the website since before I started here. I think it was one of my interview questions when I started here. The website draft design is, we have a first draft, and it still needs a lot of work, but we're going to clean it up and make it much more user-friendly and ADA compliant as well, which at this point it's not.
Oh, really?
It hasn't kept up with.
What
basic
are
code.
like type sizes, fonts, certain sizes?
Yeah, I mean, even the
color and
language transition,
background?
all of that. Yep.
Oh,
Making it mobile friendly, all of that.
Oh.
So we have a lot of improvements to make, and that draft is coming, and that's included in our current hosting site. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at potentially changing it from a .org to a .gov, which would make us seem a little more official. We'll see what we can do there. .govs are hard to get, but we're going to try.
okay.
That's my update for projects. I've also included the building reports on here that are always ongoing. Nothing big is coming. If anything big is coming, I'll let you all know. Right now, we just have a couple deck projects. One that might be too close to a side property line that we're going to look at and see if there's a workaround, or there might be a variance application coming related to a deck, but nothing bigger than that at this point. And that concludes my report.
Our water committee just walked in.
Yes, yeah,
Let's.
thank you. All right, so Michael, you're finished? Have any questions for us or?
Unless there's questions from the council.
I have one quick one.
Yes, go ahead.
Changing to a .gov has implications, doesn't it,
It does.
legally?
It does.
So we're working with Ron
Yeah.
to make sure that
I haven't gotten to that step yet, but I have
unintended consequences.
the checklist of things I need to check before we can do that. And what the process is. You actually have to apply for it from a government
yeah.
website. So,
But more municipalities are doing that. I've been attending the monthly MoCo mayor meeting, and more are changing their websites from some are still like on an old Gmail site.
Right.
Everyone's getting professional.
Like an old
So,
personal account.
yeah. So more and more are doing that. So it's something to consider, but of course we would weigh all, look into all of
yeah,
that.
I will present the options once we have them, but I'm just looking
Right,
into it this
thanks.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're finished, Michael, we held the floor as long as we could. Are you ready, Mr. Mark, with your report?
They've gone.
I've got my co-chair.
Okay, good.
My-
Wonderful.
I messed up, she can like clean it up.
Elizabeth is on.
She's on.
And Elizabeth is here too. Yes, your whole committee is here.
So, Katie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I was trying to ask you before, a lot of this, when other people are speaking, we don't know who's speaking and we can't hear them.
I'll move the camera, Larry, but that's just the reality of running 2 meetings. Go ahead, Mark. Thank you.
Expert for you about compliance in a website.
Or now you can just speak up. That would be great.
Oh.
I was whispering. but-
Okay, you're on. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, good evening.
See all of you. I'm pretty excited now. I'm not gonna go through the process of why we proposed it. I think you agreed. And you have our summary of what we did to identify who the company we think is the best candidate. And
It's on page 7 of your.
Page 7 comes.
We had 3 proposals. One was from Clark Azar, who we know. One was from Bayland, who is the engineer, the stormwater management engineer for Somerset.
Oh, sorry, page 4.
And one is EXP, who's a national company. We worked really hard and took great care to figure out who to recommend. We spent hours designing a rating system and forms, which are in what we'll upload into our records. But or Michael can have them, or whatever you want to do. Then we spent hours, each of us spent hours on each proposal. The first one I did took 7 hours, but I think that was a learning curve. All right, but eventually it came down to about 3 hours, 4 hours sometimes. Then what we did is we met. So we scored individual criteria, and we'll get into that in a minute. Then we did a total score, and then we compared. And it was unanimous amongst the 3 of us that the Bayland proposal was by far superior. Not just a little bit, but like a lot. And that sort of surprised me in some ways, because Jason Azar knows us so well, and even helped us with the proposal. But it was just not a good proposal. Or I'm sorry, he helped us with our proposal to you guys. It just didn't cover a lot of stuff. But I don't know how it would have turned out if it was better, but Balin's proposal, like, addressed every concern we had and addressed it well. It was the best organized, it was the most responsive, it was the most comprehensive. It really endeavored to show its understanding of Martin's additions and what we've done and what we're trying to do in the environment we're working in. So it's just splendid. Not only did it hit every requirement, and some of the other proposals didn't hit them, but it did, each time it did it in depth. And it did it in half the number of pages that EXP proposal was. And so that really showed the clarity of their thinking to me. And, you know, in RFP requirements, there's a subtext, right? There's like things that you may not ask, but they're implied from what we're talking about. And they identified all the subtext and responded and addressed those. It said that it would identify the top 10 problematic stormwater management areas. That doesn't mean, you know how I feel about this, that doesn't mean we're going to identify any. We'll do that professionally and we'll see where it comes out. And then it said it would identify foundational research. It would do foundational research. And it listed all the things we would want them to look at. All right, everything in Martin's edition, interviewing you folks to the extent you think that you have something to add to this thing. And certainly Arthur and Jeff have been with us like every step of the way. So at this point, they know as much as we do. It said that it would identify and rank these problem areas. It would give us a cost out of remediation solutions. And I want to explain to you some of the thinking I'm having now that I'm not sure I've shared it with the team yet. And it would identify third-party funding sources. All right, that's pretty good. In the discussion of research investigation, it showed a systematic approach, scientifically based, very professional, very detailed, and tightly managed, with weekly meetings with the team, with at least monthly meetings with us, I guess would be Arthur and Jeff, but all of you if you want, and working with us all the time. It committed clearly to using our committee's prior work, because we gather a ton of stuff that is we believe is very detailed. It's going to review Martin's Additions documents. It's going to interview the officials. It's going to interview residents. They committed all that up front. Some of the proposals didn't even speak to these things. It proposed the largest staff. It proposed a 5-person staff. All right. And what's more important is that they proposed that the project manager be the chief engineer on the Somerset project, Mr. Stepp, who's got 20 years of experience and 13 years with them. But the point is that they have a knowledge of the regional infrastructure problems, the topography issues, the political, financial, and residential concerns issues, and all that should expedite the work and increase the likelihood that they'll make if they have recommendations, they will be tailored to us. Let me give you an example of that. Somerset's proposed plan and report that were developed with Balin, it was incredibly impressive. All right, and honestly, we used it as sort of like a template to not to copy, but to study what should be thought about. And then we created our own plan. The Chevy Chase View was another plan that we thought was pretty good. And the recommendations seemed to make sense at the time we read it, which candidly, we didn't know as much as we know now, but it made sense. So here's what happens. Once these reports are done, sometimes they're just followed and the plan is implemented. Sometimes they're partially followed and partially implemented because there's the community balks over something, all right? And you can't tell what they're going to balk over, all right? But to give you examples, Somerset went pretty far along. They had a plan. They did some code changing and but when it came to the infrastructure parts, they've sort of hung up on the cost. Right? And why is that important? We care about cost, right? You care about cost. You're trustees of the town's money. But there, in my mind, one of the things I'd like to see in the contract is a prioritizing from a multifaceted basis, all right? Degree of problem, extent of problem, options for repairing it, cost, and then a cost basis analysis. What do you get? What bang are you getting for your buck? All right. And I already can think of things that will be cheaper and get more bang, but I'm not the engineer. So we'll test out my theories, right? Then there's the other thing that I thought Balin did a really excellent job was the discussion of community and collaboration and engagement of the residents. They talked a lot about that. They did a great job. Other people mentioned it, but nobody went into the level of details these folks did. And that is a real problem. That could be the problem in Somerset. I don't know, but because the Somerset village manager really liked them and thought they did a great job. So it sounds like it's something else. Chevy Chase View, Jason Azar told me that the hang-up that he was experiencing, this is a year ago, so but he didn't update it in his proposal, was that a lot of residents, not a lot of,
A core.
no, well, it would say an effective number of residents, all right. We're blocking the resident cross neighbor commitments that you and I have talked about a couple of times, and we know that they have to be thought about. But you know, it could very well be, he recommended that there be things that were done. And to sort of to deal with the fact that the county doesn't enforce its, you may not increase the water discharge from your property when you do construction. They don't enforce it. And they announced, we don't enforce it because we want more building. It's the law, but we don't enforce it. So that's going to be, in addition to code, in my mind, controlling that stormwater discharge from new construction, increasing the amount of water that comes off that property from what it was, which is acceptable what it is, to a reasonable amount, should have a big impact. And well, we've talked about the fact that that could be costly. But we're already thinking about ways to reduce and control that cost. All right, so one of them would be that builder bears the cost. Show us what was flowing off there, and show what your thing is going to flow off, and make a legal binding commitment that you want to increase it. They do all the work. So the point is that Bayland seems to know how to get to the residents, hear the residents, structure the presentation. And they just ran into a money problem, which is a political decision, right? Yes, it is. So, well.
I think you You did an amazing job presenting the contracts that we received, Mark. I think, as a member of the committee, what I might add, is it, and I think you said this, Mark, is really the sense that this contractor understood the nature of working within the municipality, a small municipality, and the types of challenges that we face as a small municipality with aging infrastructure, a lot of new development, and some of the ways in which we might address those issues as a municipality that are very realistic, and not just limited to, one contractor was looking particularly at, solution tied to just public space, and our stormwater sewers. And we know going into this, that that's probably not, from the work that the Stormwater Committee did last year with Clark Azar, we know that's not going to be sufficient. So I think looking at the Somerset model will be very helpful for us in really seeing what they have identified as their areas of vulnerabilities, what solutions they've come up with, and what the costs are. It gives us already a scale of some of the costs that they may be running into as a municipality going into this work. So I'm excited. I wasn't expecting this contractor to come up on top either. We always think it will be the contractor that we're most familiar with that will write the strongest proposal. But I think this offers a huge opportunity for this community, and really, as Mark said, emphasizing also the willingness of this contractor to work with the community in collaboration with its residents, and the ability to bring people together for a discussion, I think will really strengthen our committee and our ability to move forward on some of the proposals that will come out of this work.
So moving forward on this, does the council have to approve the RFP, or is this purely up to you to do?
Will need council approval. Ron's jumping online. I would need council approval. This is a total amount, if I'm reading this correctly, of $110,000. So that's more than we had discussed or approved prior. So we would need an approval from the council to spend that amount of money.
Should we do that today, or?
You absolutely can, or you can, if you want to read the entire RFP, I'm happy to, or their proposal, I'm happy to send that around if you all want to look at that first. But you have their presentation and their report here that is in quite detail.
I feel pretty comfortable with, the detail that, first of all, this presentation was super helpful.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And also what's written here is super helpful. So I don't think I need any additional, and we understand costs. They go up between, when I ordered gutters, between the day I signed the contract and the month later, it went up a third in price. So I get all that. So
I propose that we accept your recommendation.
Elizabeth,
Ron?
wait,
Elizabeth saying
Elizabeth had a comment from the
Elizabeth?
committee first. Elizabeth, no, you're on mute.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for presenting that. I had two other things that I wanted to add. Mark mentioned that Bayland is proposing a project team of 5, that it's a very complementary team. It's deep in their, have a lot of depth in terms of years of experience, but also have complementary expertise and experience from various types of engineering expertise to grant support specialists to one individual that actually is an expert in public outreach, education, and administrative support that works a lot on the, apparently, at the community level, the communication end of it, which is very important. So that was one thing very much in their favor. And also they have quite a range of the types of technical, services and interventions that they're capable of doing. I mean, there are at least 20 bullet points, if not more, 20 or 30 of the types of studies that they can do. But the other thing that I wanted, especially after the reference call with the manager at Somerset, it's sort of a caution, which is, this is a first step in addressing a very, very complex problem. But it's necessary to get the level of technical information to know what are the worst problem areas, what are the priorities, and how much are they going to cost. But to be prepared, if we want to work towards remediation, which I think is, that's what this proposal is all about, to start turning some of these problems around or defending ourselves from, as they get worse, that it will require an investment. And so it's part of a process that will need to be looked at from a budget perspective that's probably multi-year. And I think that's this apparently was not sufficiently addressed by the council, my understanding is, at Somerset, so that when the report came in with the costed out solutions, they were caught off guard, right? So I just think that that's something that we should really address up front if we're really serious about it. Look at it from a phasing in, and that this idea of prioritizing with the bidder here who proposes to do that should be a very, very important step of the whole process.
Yeah, good point.
We'd like to actually, we're not part of the government, but we would like to work with Michael to help him design the pieces of the contract that address this issue. And for example, what do we really, this whole matrix idea that I have of a series of recommendations that can be looked at from different points of view. I have that in my mind. I have to talk it over with Elizabeth and Yasmina, because right now it's only a reality in my head. But I think we could help Michael a little bit with odds and ends like that. And yes, that's
Okay, good.
May I just had one? Oh, is there someone else online?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Just a quick point. It has nothing to do with the substance or the magnificence of the committee and where we are, but it was more of recognizing, this is not something that manages it by itself. And so just the bandwidth in terms of, I know that we had put some money in the budget around managing a contract like this. It does require time. So, and you folks are volunteers. Do we foresee that we need additional muscle at all on this, or how do we see the overall management of it? So that we feel confident, because you're stretched thin. I know we have an assistant manager, but we did build in money for folks if we needed to. I'm just curious, because I know government contracts, they're not easy, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna go do their thing and come up with a list of recommendations, and implementing each of those is gonna be another entire project, right? So, and I think that's what the task force is talking about. The difficulty isn't getting the recommendations back from Bayland. The issues are gonna come when they start making recommendations that are to change our code and those types of things.
So everyone feels right now that we have something down the road we don't have to worry about.
That's my current kind of opinion, and I've talked to Mark about this as well. So
yeah, we keep talking. And so I call them too much, but I just want to get it perfect. And so we're going to work with these guys really close, assuming that you get a contract. And it's not going to be them telling us once a month what they've been doing. We're going to be talking to them every few days. We're going to sit in on some of their community meetings, some of their team meetings. We're going to be actively involved. Don't look at me that way. She's like, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
We'll share. Burden will share.
Good. Okay.
Okay, so, should we make a motion?
So for the increase in the funds, is that we just approve here by vote?
yeah, we have enough money in the budget reserves set aside for capital projects. This is a capital project, so that's where it would come out of. But I would need a council approval to go ahead and approve this contract for $110,000.
Okay. Would one of you like to make a motion?
We have a motion.
Yeah, I
do?
move that we approve the increase from $80,000 to $110,000.
And that we go, and with that we,
We have a-
yeah, and that we negotiate this contract. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
You got your contract, well, not quite yet, but
So it's.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm
You know,
so
it's good
glad.
For me, it's been a year and a half getting
yeah.
this one.
The
Okay,
Thank you so
meticulous
much.
work.
But on
Thank
the
you,
other hand,
thank you.
It's good to see.
Thank you,
someone,
Elizabeth.
Because I can work with Yasmina and Elizabeth.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Good.
Uh,
I'll leave before we ask for anything.
Okay. Well, if it's all right with everyone, I'm going to, since we've done some reshuffling tonight, so now we're on to, it would be resident comments. I'm gonna flip resident comments to after council comments, if you all don't mind. Council comments is an item I've added to the agenda each month, as a place for when issues come up or to hear from council members. So, I would like to use this section of the meeting to bring up an uncomfortable subject for many. I just want to communicate that, that we know or we're aware that, a tragedy occurred this past Sunday in a resident's home on Summit. And, many of you saw or were probably wondering why there was such a large, first responder and specifically police presence in the area that day. And it's a delicate issue, but one that has inflicted trauma and impacted residents who live in the vicinity of where the distress occurred. I spoke with neighbors who live on Summit, and you know, this emotional experience is weighing on them, and me personally, as well as our village staffers, Michael and Aaron, and among others, maybe in the room and at the table. I can't speak for everyone, but it's so difficult to know, you know, what to do at this point. And I want to remain sensitive to the family most impacted. And Michael has worked to find and offer some local counseling sessions for these residents. And I would like to encourage our council to consider funding this service for a trial basis immediately or as soon as possible. Now, I heard from, you know, residents who saw that I spoke with some local media outlets earlier in the week. I just want to clarify. I agreed to as a neighbor and not on behalf of the council, but I did provide some what they call local color about the neighborhood. I used to work in local news, and so I'm aware of how this kind of story, unfortunately, once it goes out on emergency service wires, which all local news outlets monitor for breaking news, it spreads. So, you know, I did speak with reporters on the scene who wanted to report the facts of the event, and they also wanted to be respectful, but they were looking for local reaction. So I know that at that point, no one on Summit wanted to comment, but I provided at least my reactions. And then the crews soon left, which was the goal. I was hoping some calm could be restored at the end of the day. So that's what that was about. I hope no one was offended. I was truly just speaking from the heart in that moment. And of course, I'm open to any thoughts from the community, but Michael has done some research on offering some a trial of 3 sessions for anyone who's interested. We were going to extend it to Summit to an email, and but I wanted to run it by the rest of the council and hear your thoughts.
Well, as you know, I have said that I believe that grief counseling exceeds the scope of our authority. We have had similar instances in the past and made a decision, I believe with Ron's input, that it was not appropriate. If we were a PTA, I think it would be absolutely requisite, but I think that it is not our role to offer this. Of course, all of us have been touched by this incident. All of us feel very strongly about our community. But I think we have to be cognizant of where the boundaries are.
Does anybody else want to comment?
No, I'm not sensitive to the issues that Susan is, but I have one other one that may or may not be appropriate or relevant, is that we've had other incidents, not as tragic as this one, but other tragic incidents in the past. And then we run into the question of when do we do this? What triggers it? what level of harm or whatever
Mhm.
might trigger the offer of this. So I don't have an answer to it. I have the question. And question whether this incident is more special, more tragic, more deserving than others that have occurred. That's my concern.
Yeah, if I can just add, this is a no-win situation here for us as a council. I've reached out to some residents on Summit who really were suffering and one sought counseling through this resident's office through their work. I do feel like we should be a resource and they expressed their gratitude that we even reached out. I mean, I think perhaps that was not expected or maybe it was expected and so they expressed their gratitude. I feel like, again, this I don't know if this is not the same as the conversation we've had about Chevy Chase Home and picking one counseling organization over another. I think as a municipal government, we should provide assistance to, we're a service industry here. We should provide assistance to our residents. And in a time of such darkness and tragedy, we should at least reach out and see what they need. And if some say they desperately seek counseling, and seek our assistance and how to identify maybe a counseling service that's reputable, I think we obviously assist in that situation. When it gets to using our funds to assist, I mean, I could be in favor of that, and I could also see Susan's point 100%. I think we shouldn't sit on this. We should reach out. Maybe there's a way for us to reach out to Summit residents and Taylor, by the way, or Thornapple, because these are all adjacent streets, and see how we can be helpful as a council and just hear what they have to say and take it from there. I don't know if we have to make a decision tonight to say we're making funding available for grief counseling or not, but maybe a first step is that we reach out officially versus I've reached out as a neighbor to see how we can be helpful. So welcome to
Jeff, you express views.
Yeah, I as much as I want to make a comment, I feel this is something that's evolving. It's under investigation. I feel even uncomfortable talking about it because I don't want to compare. I mean, but I've had, incidents in my life where unfortunately I've been very close to things. But I really, to talk about it here and to talk about it in a way where it's evolving, I think I don't feel comfortable talking about it in this forum. I don't think it's our place to talk about it in this forum. I think that we should be respectful. I think that we should keep our eyes and ears open. I think that we're probably, but I just don't, it's hard for me to discuss it in this
Agreed.
way. It feels like almost a violation of their own, we don't know. And so all I have to say is I know that our council and our office is here to do the right thing. We will always be here for our residents as they need it. And as we hear more, if folks reach out to us, I know that we will be in unison to do whatever we can, but there may not be anything we can do. So, we all care about our community, and I think that we just have to tread lightly on this because usually privacy is what's needed. And I'm sure if something is needed, we'll be the first ones to know, and we'll also be the first ones to react. I hope that's
I would like to close with Michael, because Michael, I would like you to share at least what you had found out or what we were considering offering, because it sounds like it's not going to have the support of the council. So could you just at least explain what you had researched and were thinking?
Yeah, this hit pretty hard for myself and
for a lot of parents in the neighborhood and, um, so I came up with a plan, to offer some grief counseling to myself, to my staff, to my council members if they need it. I guess I'm just trying to be a problem solver, so when I see something happen like this in the neighborhood, I try to solve it.
You did a great job. You did. There's no playbook for this.
I have a proposal in front of the council and you all can do with it what you want. You can do that here or you can do it later. But that's where we stand.
Okay.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, let me just comment on that. I mean, if our staff feels they need, I mean, like I said, we're here in unison to do, you know, and again, this is a public forum versus a closed forum, but certainly if our staff or anyone in the community needs it, let's do it, right? If Michael, if you and the assistant manager feel, or whoever, then let's do what we need to do.
Well, I think the distinction there is that we are the village is the employer, and we're offering a service to our employee as opposed to
That's
making a
different.
broader
Yeah. Yeah.
Good point.
outreach.
So like I said, very sensitive and, but, you know, our staff obviously needs support, so let's move forward on that. And then I mean, that's my opinion.
I would-
And
yeah,
as we
let's
hear more
support the
from the
staff.
community, or if we,
My proposal is not just for support of the staff. My proposal is the support of the residents that are really hurting right now.
Mhm.
That's my proposal in this specific way. And I, you know, I don't think it personally if you don't accept that, but
So it's okay.
that's the proposal I'm putting.
So it's just, so also, I meant no disrespect to anyone even bringing it up. It is very uncomfortable. I respect what is going on and I understand it's an active investigation and I'm like, there's no playbook for this. So what we were just thinking was just reaching out to the Summit residents with an email just to those residents. And we were just going to say, you know, we understand you saw activity you can't unsee, and we were going to extend this trial service. And maybe no one even takes it, but you know, I know that no other municipalities have ever done it. Just because, you know, it hasn't been done doesn't mean it can't be done. I would like to be a leader sometime, and
But
not a
you do know that
follower.
there have been no others?
I mean, I know that there, you know, and if there have been other tragedies in the neighborhood that I'm unaware of, I would have proposed the same thing. I mean, I would say the same thing. I think we should have a category for this in the budget, a public health category or something. I don't know. For unforeseeable things. I did not see this coming. I'm just trying to be sensitive.
It's not unheard of for municipalities to offer these types of
It's
services to the
no,
residents.
No, we checked with Ron and. you
Right,
know,
I understand. Like, you know, the large municipalities where things often happen, it is part of their.
one thing I would just add to this is, and again, respecting privacy and all of that is, if not already, fully trust, you know, you to however you're doing it through street captains or outreach. But if you can find, if you have or hear the idea that folks need this, then we can, you know, that if there is, if we know that folks want it or need it, it's just, I don't have a gauge. Is this because our office wants to do something because we feel the need to do something, or have people come to us saying that they need our help? That's what I.
Or help. They need help.
I just, yeah, I want to say another thing. So my recommendation was to reach out and say, if there's anything we can do to help, let us know. A lot of folks will not proactively reach out to their local government and say, I need help. Or even mention it to their family
They
members.
wouldn't even think of it.
Right,
reaching
maybe
out
they,
to us.
and maybe they don't realize the impact it has on their day-to-day after they've experienced or witnessed or even just heard about it. That's enough to create trauma when you hear about it or read about this. So I think we should definitely reach out via email or however we
And
plan
offer,
to. And just say, we're here for you.
yeah, but what does that mean?
Well,
To offer, we could offer.
yes, I think we should offer. We should offer assistance And if that assistance is providing grief counseling, I think we should do it. Again, we talk about this budget that we have.
Mhm.
You know, some of us pointed out
Yes.
more than others, and I don't want to blow through it. But,
Right.
you know, and maybe on our watch or some of ours watch, we have not heard of similar tragedies or different tragedies. But I think our residents are entitled
Yes.
to receive support from us if given that we're able to provide it. And if Ron doesn't have an issue with this, legally speaking, then I think it's a matter of the council making a decision.
So I would just, they could find support through us. We are not going out to do it, but support through us. We
Yes.
will put them in touch with
Yes.
and pay
Yes.
for it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And again, as Susan mentioned, what happens to our staff is completely different. I mean, this is not the conversation we're having here at all. You, of course, and Aaron will get all the support you need. It's the precedent people talk about and there is and there isn't about helping residents. That's the conversation, not the staff, just to be clear.
So what's the action we?
I would like to make a motion.
I think we've come around.
I would like to make a motion that we proceed with this plan and offer, reach out to the residents of Summit.
Not just Summit.
Oh,
We have
well.
to identify by street. Reach out to concerned or residents. I don't know how you're going to define it.
Impacted residents is
Impacted
how I worded
residents,
it.
all right, so will we just?
Maybe if
move
there's other people and now it's a public forum that we're having this conversation.
Right.
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 Should
I,
be.
it's because it's the holidays and we don't know, I know this is, again, facts are coming out, so it's uncomfortable for me to even talk about something which is still evolving, but there are, there are probably other people who may also be going through some very difficult times. Maybe
Sure.
it's not the same, it's the holidays and things. So, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with, in whatever the weekly or whatever is that if there are links to grief counseling and things that are available through the county or whatever, I mean, that also could be
And-
something, because we could do it as a blanket, right? And we could direct people to it.
But we're more than direct.
But I think this is a separate, you're talking about like in a wrap up, weekly wrap up during the holiday
So
season,
more
to have something
directed.
like a standard,
Right.
you know, I think that's a great idea.
It
Because
is,
for
it is.
some, the holiday season is not a
No,
happy
that's
season,
right.
right? I mean, but I think in terms of moving here, and you can hash out the details on who the target is. I don't know if we have to vote on the target
No.
audience here, but I think we can move to direct the village manager to send an email to those impacted and offer our support.
Are you making a motion?
I move that we instruct.
I would like to second that. Okay, all in favor?
I'd like clarification on what that entails.
Right.
Is that actually offering grief counseling at this juncture? Or is that just saying a general, we empathize, we,
No, I think.
I would say, okay, so to clarify it, I would say, we're reaching out, given the tragedy that occurred on Summit. And we would like to offer our assistance should you need it, and that includes
okay.
grief counseling that we would help pay for.
And I think in the future, I'll support that. But in the future, we need to think more about this.
Mhm.
When do we do, what triggers it?
Right.
How do we? Yeah,
No, that's.
hopefully we don't have to deal with this again.
Yeah.
Okay,
But-
so you made a motion and nobody seconded
Oh,
yet.
I'll second.
Okay,
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
And I would just add,
That's me.
I
Right.
assume the motion includes the program guidelines that Michael had recommended
Yes.
for up to the 3 sessions. And Michael, will you please remind me from what budget line item is the fund going to be available? Or do we need to do an appropriation tonight?
I think we can have that conversation about which budget line it goes on. We have enough money set aside for several, it could come out of several different
It
categories.
could be.
Okay. Okay, got you. All right, yeah, just don't want to make sure we didn't have to do an appropriation.
Yeah, no, we're good there. I have
I have some office budget stuff that would be okay for this, I think, so.
Michael, not to sound like a broken record, first of all, thank you for your service and appreciate this. We know if there's anyone who's thoughtful and yeah, so that goes without saying, but just, you know, in terms of the idea of pushing versus this is something that folks want, you know, just be discreet about that.
I've already drafted a letter and I'll tweak it with Ron's input as well and make it matches what you said as best I can.
Okay.
Thank you all
Okay.
for supporting mental health. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Michael. Thank you. And apologies if that was triggering or upsetting anyone.
No.
Thank you. So
Deal with it.
thank you, everyone. We're gonna move on to resident comments. Yasmina.
I want to thank you as council members. I'm just gonna react immediately to this conversation because I was aware of what happened on Summit, and it's just incredibly distressing. And I know everyone in the room is incredibly well-intentioned and we all want to just wrap our arms around the family and all of the neighbors on Summit. I will say, however, as a resident, this was a really uncomfortable conversation.
Yes,
And it shouldn't have taken place in a public
exactly.
forum. And if there are concerns around the support that our village staff need, that conversation should be private in an HR setting. So I just want to react and share that. That doesn't take away from my appreciation for the heart that has motivated this conversation. I also want to take this opportunity just to say to both members of the council and to residents, and I heard this as we were putting together as a member of the engagement committee when we were putting together the event on the 15th. And Susan mentioned earlier the feedback we received, and I don't want to name the resident who shared this, but just the appreciation for having something close to home on the street that was accessible. But beyond the events that we put on as a village, as a community, that everyone helps organize, just really we all need to take a moment to look around, to notice who's there, who's not there, who doesn't come to our events, who doesn't come to our meetings, who we don't see on the streets, particularly around the holidays. And it's really hard, but we're all super busy in this area. And we need just take a moment. We can set up systems, we can set up buddy systems, we can set up mental health support. But what will really make a difference is if we knock on people's door or just make a phone call and check on one another. And just, that's all. That's why I wanted to share. And just again, my appreciation to all of you for the support you give to the village and to all of us as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I make one comment real briefly? Thank you so much. You know, I just came from something and there was some event I was at and I was speaking and there was another speaker there. It said something very profound, and what you just shared really connected the dots for me. And the person, he's a professor at Georgetown, and he was a keynote, and he asked the question to the audience, and he said, when was the last time you had or made a handwritten note to somebody? And this was at a university. And so I was the only one. I asked if I could participate, and I said I was the only one who did that. And then the next question was, well, if you were to write a handwritten note, who would you send it to? And maybe just maybe to think about it, maybe a lot, but maybe we should, if not already, maybe the council or however, we can deliver some notes to people's doors this holiday, right? Maybe it's not handwritten, or maybe, you know, but maybe that's something, just a, you know, I think a little card with just a, you know, may go a long way. Just a thought.
Larry-
Are there any other resident comments?
Larry's
Oh,
had.
Larry is.
Larry Watson.
Yeah, hi. So, couple of things. The last council meeting, I'd mentioned that, if the engagement committee would consider, remember, some way of communicating to our villagers who, if they needed help coming to some of our events, because I know that several people are elderly or, and it would help if there could be an Uber or somebody help them one way or another, which for most of us doesn't seem to matter, but it would, just think about that, along with what you're saying. Jeff just brought something up that I thought got missed, and that is, if you're, the grief counseling concept is wonderful. But there's this other thing you hear all the time about if people had only known or provided help ahead of time. And so my suggestion would be that this communication that goes out, also either that communication or another communication says, are you hurting at this time of year? Would you like someone to talk to you or something? Making a communication saying, we care, we're here. To avoid holiday fund. Maybe we could put in the weekly things that people could mail checks. Is that done? I mean, all I heard was talking is people could drop them off, but is there a mail procedure?
There is, it's in there.
Okay. And there's no such thing that, so my bank notified me that they have a protected thing like Venmo, but it can't be screwed around with the way Venmo can be, that I could use for my customers. Is there anything like that the bank can offer the village?
No, there's not.
Yeah. The website. Would the villagers get a chance to review what's planned to be done before it's implemented on the website?
I'm not sure about that. I like leaving the design elements up to the professionals, so,
Well, not so much the design elements, but what's being provided. As an example, what I see constantly, what I see is it would be wonderful if there was a website mechanism where a person can make a request of the village, either the management or the council or a committee, and that it actually has a process of follow through. They can actually fill out a form online there. And the process goes all the way through to who it's been referred to and then what happens. And then there's something that goes back to the person who made the initial communication. And so to start that, is there a place on the website they can do that?
some sort of ticketing forms or, like two-way communications, is not part of the current scope of our website now.
I know. And so that's why here's a villager making a suggestion that I think has real merit, because one of the most consistent complaints I hear over the years since 1979 is that people call up or they ask about something and it's like talking into a hole. Nothing comes back to them. And I know some of the other villages do have a process at their website that can get started. I'm just suggesting that. The other thing is I heard that did someone say that was it Georgetown? Some school there or department was looking at our meetings?
Correct.
Okay. So obviously, you know, I already said it twice about, you know, better equipment and ability to us to see who's saying what to whom, that sort of thing. But the idea of making minutes efficient is another, Michael, I understand what a pain in the butt in-depth minutes are. If you think you suffered, talk to Gene Sperling about that. But the point is that it's a way of disenfranchising villagers. Because one of the other issues is that people bring information to meetings. It's not noted. And there's no text or information about what the suggestions were. They just, again, go into a hole. And so if a dark hole that nothing comes back from. And so if you're going to make minutes that are more efficient, then what mechanism is going to be done to make a record and a knowledge of villagers' suggestions during meetings that can be reviewed by present people and future people? How does that occur? And maybe this group could, this university's group could make a suggestion along those lines. So I think I've come up with enough rambling. Wish you all the best in the holidays ahead. And
Larry, this is Jeff Lander here. Really appreciate your comments, and I think they're really important. And I'm not sure if we're doing it for this meeting, but I know we talked about the idea of using AI to summarize. And Larry, I'm not sure if you've ever seen this, but it is absolutely extraordinary. So if we're doing right now the recording and it's being translated into a narrative, literally we could drop it in and then say, could you summarize the key points and then even what the residents were asking, and we will have that in moments. And it really not only alleviates huge pressure on our staff, but it provides a level of detail and synthesis that frankly, we haven't been able to have. And it's not a replacement of staff. What it is it augments, right? Because then our staff really can focus on the things that we need them to focus on. And now we have this tool and capability that not only gives us a granularity we never had, but it will address the very points you have, where we can then summarize all the things that the residents were saying, probably in more detail than what we've done.
Right. Yeah, we had discussed that earlier. In fact, we could have like the official minutes that are very abbreviated and this longer AI produced narrative.
Yeah, Lori mentioned that the ethics committee did this for the first time and it was very successful.
all right. So
It's amazing, right?
That's amazing.
Whoa.
5-minute turnaround.
thank you, Jeff. The other final thing was, we're talking about this grief thing, et cetera, and another thing that comes up again is communication, and that means we've spent no funds, and it's well within our ability to provide the funds to get a listserv that the community can actually use, and may also be another avenue for making it a better village. And I would ask that the council take action on that in the next 2 months of getting someone in who can help us set it up. I understand the issues that you don't want to be responsible for content and editing, but that can be taken care of, et cetera. But there's no reason why this should not be funded by the council. And I thank you again and wish you all the greatest holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay. Anyone else in the room? Comments? No?
Good.
Okay. All right,
I got a comment.
okay,
I don't know.
yes, go ahead.
Thank you all very much for celebrating my 83rd and birthday with me today. And thank you especially Katie for the beautiful cake.
You're welcome.
Michael, for the pancakes.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you all. Happy holidays.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
holidays.
Man.
Do I need to?
We would need a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you all. We are adjourned.
Thank you.